Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, and I want to say Shalom to Akim Akwat out there pursuing this truth diligently, coming at you once again with another lesson. This one doesn't necessarily have a title yet. Something like Americans are being robbed, or the American people are being robbed, something along those lines, right? And it stems from this post here that I came across on Reddit. It's from the Work Reform Reddit, and it says, how have we come to accept this as normal? All right, it's all really indoctrination. Let me go and look that up. We'll get that in a minute. Really indoctrination, and there's another word that I'm looking for. Not only indoctrination, but what am I looking for? It's maybe it'll come to me. But anyway, conditioning. All right, call you how about Shemiah Shai. Okay, so indoctrination and conditioning. So this is by this poster, Thrilla the Gorilla. Never heard of them. Ridiculous. But it says, they said, it's wild how society accepts leaving kids at daycare 40 hours a week just to commute to a job that funds the daycare, the car, and a house you're rarely in. We're basically grinding to pay for a life we barely get to experience. And it's true. That's why you should work as little as possible, all right, to pay your bills, all right, and you know, don't be what they call a workaholic, all right. If you're making ends meet, don't, you know, look, all you need is enough to pay bills and maybe a little extra something so you can go out and, you know, maybe grab some food every once in a while or go to a movie, a little bit of spending money, right? You don't know, you know, I've known several people that will literally just work, you know, 12-hour shifts, you know, like just constantly 4, 5, 6 days a week. And then that's it, right? Don't even get to do much on their day off. They basically just rest, sleep, and then they go back out there and they don't ever have time to spend the money. All right, here it is. Their bank account's got $15K in it. All right, just chilling. They don't ever have time to spend it. All right, they just pay their bills and they don't go out and do nothing. They don't go out to eat. They don't go out to watch a movie. They never have a vacation. They don't go and have a travel trip to another state or any, like the money. They have all this extra money for nothing, right? For nothing. And it's not a nest egg. It's not having a little something to cover your ass in case something happens. It's literally just hoarding money that they'll never be able to do anything with because they never have the time off to do anything with it, right? And what's the point? All right, a lot of these people have got addicted to the bag, man. They've got addicted to just having money. Not that they want to use the money. They've got addicted to just having paper. All right, a pretty much non-tangible item, right? These days. So, and you don't get to see your kids because you're working all the time. You don't get to see your wife, all right, or your husband because you're working all the time. You don't get to do anything at home because, again, you're working all the time. You basically get enough to come home, eat, watch a TV show, go to bed, and do it the same thing the next day. And that's the society that's Babylonian society, right? Especially Babylonian society, especially American culture, because America, out of pretty much almost anywhere, has the least required amounts of days off. For example, how many days per year are Americans required to take off? Americans are not federally required to take a minimum number of paid days off each year, as the U.S. is the only OECD country without mandatory paid annual leave. What is that? Paid annual leave. Paid annual leave. So, you know, you might have a job that gives you some benefits. You know, I have a job that has, you know, gives us PTO, but it's for being assistant manager, I get nothing. My boss, the manager, he gets more. Me, I get like, I think I think it's like I get like 1 hour every month or something like that. Something. So it's basically the smallest amount of PTO that you can acquire. It's the same thing with our sick leave, because I could use sick leave as well because we're allowed to use that for PTO, but it's it's bad. They give you the minimum acceptable by state. Okay, my company does the minimum, which is something horrible. I can't remember what it is, but it says instead, paid time off PTO policies are determined by employers and vary by company, industry, and employee tenure. How long you've been there and all that, right? It says, while some states or localities may have their own regulations, most American workers' entitlement to paid leave is based on their employer's policy. Many private sector workers receiving an average of 11 to 20 days annually, depending on the years of service. So, you can go and look up our English citizens required to take off. All right. It says, as an English citizen working full-time member, if you're here working at McDonald's, you don't get no PTO. You just work and you never get it. As an English citizen working full-time, you are legally entitled to a minimum of 28 days. A minimum. Basically a month paid. You have to take it. You have to. It says this is equivalent to 5.6 weeks of vacation. This statutory entitlement applies to almost all workers in the UK, including agency staff and those with regular hours. It's not like, oh, you get 30 vacation hours. No, you get almost 30 vacation days. A month off. You are required to take. You're not all at once. Okay? So, you can take out, like it says right here, 5.6 weeks. So throughout the year, you can take a week off here, a week off here, a week off here, a week off here, almost 6 times. So, there you go. If you're a part-time worker, right, 3 days a week, your minimum is 17 days essentially, right? 17 days. So still almost a month. Okay. So that's 2.25 weeks or something like that, right? That you are forced to take off, right? You have to take it. And on top of that, sick leave is handled separately. So really, all in total, you probably get about, almost 2 months required. All right. Europe, depends on the country. There's some places. Germany legally provides 4 weeks. Okay, 20 days. Denmark, France, or Sweden offer even more, such as 6 weeks, or 6 or more weeks. So Europe is, of course, going to say they're not entitled to any because Europe is it's a body of people. But all over Europe, depending on where you are, anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes even 8 weeks. There was one person, I think they said they had to take off like 2 or 3 months. All right, where they were. All right. I remember I had a friend that was from England back in the day, and she was talking about how they make her take off a month, and she was amazed that we didn't get that. She was also amazed that we had to pay to go to the hospital here, because it should be a right. It's your health, right? Nope, have to pay to do it. Okay, have to pay to do it, and then so. Yeah, and I think I actually found that out from her originally back in the day because I was like 16 or something like that, and I was like, because we would talk over Skype, and I asked her because she broke her thumb or something like that, and I said, oh shit. She's like, yeah, I had to go to the hospital. I said, how much do they charge you for that? She says, what do you mean charge? I'm like charge, like what did you have to pay for them to fix your finger? Like, you don't have to pay to go to the hospital. What do you mean? And I said, in America you have to pay. That'd have been like fucking thousands of dollars, and it blew her mind. I didn't know that they didn't have to pay, and she didn't know that we had to pay. All right. So this society is all robbery. All right. It robs you of your free time. It robs you of your money. It robs you of your children. It robs you of your health. Anything that they can find a way to rob you in, any way to nickel and dime you. All right. You got to pay to go hunting. You got to pay to go fish. You got to pay to I don't know if it's illegal to collect rainwater, but I bet you can get a permit to do it. in which you'd have to pay. You got to pay to go camp. You got to pay to essentially be homeless. You got to pay to go, and you buy the tent, and then you have to pay for the day that you're actually on the land. Why? For what? Why do you have to pay for camping? Then you have to pay for your insurance. Then you got to pay for your registration. Then you got to pay for this. You got to pay for that. You got to pay for this. You got to pay for that. You can't do anything for free. Okay? They rob you every single way. All right? Your wife leaves you. Guess what? You got to pay child support. Doesn't leave you. Leaves you the kids, but she just decides to divorce you anyway. Got to pay her for leaving. All right? Then you got to give her one of the cars. Give her one of the properties. Then you got to pay this. Then you got to pay that. Then you got to pay this. Right? This place is all robbery, man. All right? And it's gotten you to the point where people don't question it because of indoctrination and conditioning. So let's get a scripture that explains, how this place is robbing you. Nahum 3:1, it says, "Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not." Now, the primary prey here are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right, who are the Israelites, all right? We are the Israelites the Bible speaks of. It's not the white man, all right? It's not the Ishmaelite, all right, the Arab man. No, it is the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that make up the 12 tribes of Israel, all right? The Southern Kingdom and Northern Kingdom, with the Southern Kingdom being the so-called Negroes, the Northern Kingdom being the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, right? So... This place it's all robbery, right? It's all robbery, and our people want to stay here, okay? With all it's all full of lies and robberies. If you're not being robbed, which you are, you're being lied to, and if you're not being lied, which you are, you're being robbed. All right, you're being lied to and robbed. You're being robbed and then lied about being robbed. You're robbing me. No, we're not. It's a lie, right? And on top of that, they lie about who you are. They call you African American, not Dominican American. Right? They don't call you, what? They don't call you, what's another place with some dark people? They don't call you Cuban American. Some of those Cubans are very dark, right? They don't call you, what's that one place I just talked about the other day? Ethiopian American, right? They don't call you none of that. They call you African American. There's dark, which you can go and type it in. Which countries besides Africa have very dark-skinned people? All right. Yeah, Papua New Guinea, right? They don't call they don't call you Melanesian American, right? Fiji American, right? Some of these people aren't too dark, but they don't call you Aboriginal American, right? They don't call you Brazilian American or Jamaican American, right? Or Haitian American. They don't call you Dominican American or Cuban American, right? They call you African American, right? Because African's African's the land of black. That's what they basically want to call it, because that's where black people come from, right? Black, all right? The race of black, just like the race of white and the race of black. Not colors, they're races, right? Because they come from the land of white and the land of black. You've seen that on the map, right? The land of black, all right, Blackonia, all right, you've seen Whitopia, right? White land, all right, you've seen those places, right? Oh, you haven't? That's because they don't fucking exist, man. It's all, that's another thing you've been lied about. You've been lied to about your color, and Jake believes it. Oh, I'm black. You're not black, all right? This part of the screen right here is black. You're not that color. You're brown. I'm white. Did you know I'm white? You're not white. You're pink, all right, which is a derivative of red, all right? This page right here is white. I've never seen somebody that looks that color, all right? Never, okay? So, and you say, oh, well, this on the screen is red. There ain't nobody that looks like that. Yes, there is. All right. These guys, they just look like that peach color, right? But there are very much people that look red, okay? Here's one, all right? You can find more of them, too. There you go. Look at that. That guy he's not white. Where's the white? He's pink. This guy is pink, okay? And there's other guys out here that are red, and I've seen them before out and about. And you know what I'm talking about. They look like a red person. White person, red. Alright. Skin. They end up looking like, let me see if I can find a guy. Yeah, they don't want to, they don't want to show it, but let's see. You can look up some hunters, and you'll see some red people eventually. When you need it, that's usually when it doesn't show, but you can deny it all you want. I've seen some red-ass people come to where I work. All right, I've seen them. They're red. All right, their whole face is just, their whole body is red. It's not a sunburn. They look like that even in the winter, right? So, you've been lied on everything, Jake. All right? You've been lied about how work goes. You've been lied about who you are. You've been lied about how the white man is. All right, and you've been robbed of your inheritance. You've been robbed of everything, okay? They took everything from you, man. All of our gold has been taken from, everything was taken from us, right? But Jake wants to stay here because they love it, right? And that's part of the indoctrination and conditioning. Now, what is conditioning? It says, conditioning, the process of training or accustoming, let's go and get that one, a person or animal to behave in a certain way or to accept certain circumstances. All right, social conditioning, okay? So, to be, to act or to accept certain circumstances. All right, and these are the circumstances that have been put on you, and you've been conditioned to accept them. All right, uncritically, going back into indoctrination. And accustoming means what? To make someone or something accept something as normal or usual. All right, adapt, assimilate. All right, acclimate. Okay. Accommodate. All right, you've forced someone into something to make someone accept something as normal. All right, which goes back to indoctrination, the process of teaching a person or a group of people to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. And we're seeing that in the schools right now with this homosexual agenda, man. Because it used to be thought of critically, and they're saying, no, now it's good, now it's good, now it's good. These people, if they really wanted it to, they could indoctrinate you to think that murder is okay, or that, twisting a dog's neck off is okay, and within a couple generations, people would think that it's okay to do, all right, for one reason or another. All they would have to say is if you see a dog blink some type of way, oh, you need to snap his neck immediately because, if you don't, then he'll burn inside out. And within a couple generations, you're going to have a bunch of people saying, that's not true, I've had dogs in my life. These young people are going to be doing it, and they'll be doing it uncritically, all right? They're going to say, no, this is what we were told. This is what we were told. Back in the day, you had more rebels, all right? You don't have as many rebels these days. Back in the day, you had that song by, was Billy Idol that sung it? Rebel, rebel, right? You had more people that were a little bit more rebellious towards the system. Now you only have people that rebel against what's right, okay? Back in the day, it was, hey, man, you need to accept what society tells you. And I'm like, hey, man, I don't believe in any of that stuff. I'm a free spirit, man. The hippies or the punks, they'd be like, fuck you and fuck your society, right? There's an old DRI song that I like because I like that old punk and thrash music. I don't need society. It says, your numbers are up, you gotta go. The system says I told you so. Stalked in a plane like a truckload of cattle. Sent off to slaughter in a useless battle. Thousands of us sent off to die, never really knowing why. Fuck the system, they can't have me. I don't need society. I don't need society, I don't need society! Right? It's pretty good. And you had punk that was talking about this. Fuck the government, fuck the society. They're robbing us, alright? They had, what was that? Dead Kennedys, alright? Eat the rich. Or it was kill the poor, right? Kill the poor, all right? Let's look at those lyrics. Efficiency and progress is ours once more. Now that we have the neutron bomb, it's nice and quick and clean and gets things done away with excess enemy. But no less value to property, no sense in war, but perfect sense at home. The sun beams down on a brand new day, no more welfare tax to pay. Unsightly slums gone up in a flashing light. Jobless millions whisked away. At last we have more room to play. All systems go to kill the poor tonight. gonna kill the poor, kill the poor, right? Says, behold the sparkle of champagne, the crime rate's gone, feel free again, right? So that's, you know, they knew about it. Punk knew about this shit. You know, fuck, all they want to do is fucking kill the poor, all right? They want to kill the fucking poor, all right? They want you to behave in their society, all right? To go to job, all right? And work all day, you know, all these different things, right? And now, that was punk, all right? That was the alternative. Those were the people that, you know, were like not the norm, all right? Now the norm is people that say no, and back then, you know, you had people that went with society as a regular level, but these people now, everything, you know, now these people are trying to be like alternative, and they're like, we rebel, we love this, we're totally against the system, listen to what the government says. Who do you think the system is, right? I love Rage Against the Machine. Who do you think what machine do you think they're raging against? You fucking moron. Right? You're over here, get your vaccine, get your booster, dye your hair, let your kids be gay, turn your son into a transvestite. And you're thinking that's being like alternative. It's not alternative. That's what you all do. That's what everybody's with now. All right? Now the alternative is to not accept those things. It used to be the alternative was being punk. Now being punk seems to be the people that are in their normal state of minds. Right? So it's fucking crazy, man. Listen to what the government tells you. Do everything that they tell you to do. Right? That's these fucking, you know, motherfuckers these days. Right? And they've got you to that point. And, you know, because I was just talking to my wife about it earlier this morning, because, you know, these young kids now, you know, and because we're talking about how this, you know, my one of my, you know, my little cousin, her boyfriend acts like a fucking, you know, a maggot with an F instead of an M, right? An agate with an F, right? So yeah, you know, like a Bati boy, all right, Batiman. He acts like that one. And she said, this guy looks fucking gay. I'm waiting for the day that you know, your little cousin basically says, oh, he was gay, or he comes out as gay. And I said, you know, that's just how they all act these days, right? There's people at my work, these young kids, and the men are very effeminate. You know, I've talked about certain things. You know, I was talking to one guy about, you know, something, you know, because he's you know, a virgin, and I'm just like, you're still a virgin? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you haven't even gone out there and tried? And he's like, no, because it's different. I'm like, what do you mean it's different? I'm like, you didn't get none in school? He's like, no, I didn't, because if you try in school nowadays to get with someone, all, you know, the guys and the girls are gonna look at you like you're a whore, and you're gonna be ostracized. It's at a point now where men trying to, you know, get some tail, all right, are now looked down about by men and women. All right, they're like, oh, he's nothing but a chauvinist pig, and the other men are like, yeah. And these women are basically dating homosexuals, right? They don't want their woman to have any womanly role. They want the woman to be over them. All right, they're okay. They're you know, they're pulling a gorilla Hebrew. All right, they're probably okay with getting fucked up the ass by their girl with a fucking plastic dick. All right, Slovakia, or the vulgarity, it's true. A lot of these guys would probably be fucking on the roll with it. They'd probably get a fucking kick out of it. All right, the men have been completely, there's no such thing really as a man anymore. And if there is a man, you know, the only way you can learn how to be it is if in this truth. All right, the people that are in this truth are men. All right, the ones out in the world, they're not men anymore. All right, being a man requires masculinity, and masculinity has been stripped, all right, and called toxic. Okay, toxic. So everything's been robbed of you. You can't even be a man in this society, right? But you've been conditioned and lied to and robbed, and now you just go with it. All right, you're okay with it. So that's just how it goes, man. But yeah, man, so you're not gonna see your kids, all right, in the society, all right? And really, this world is really starting to get a taste of the curses that us Israelites have been under. And it's as we get closer and closer and closer and closer to the end, man. They're really starting to feel it, these Edomites and everyone, right? Not just us. And these Edomites, you know, really they've really almost manufactured a curse. You know, they don't have the level of like what Yahweh Shemiah Shai does, but they've really almost manifested like a type of curse upon their own people by hoarding the blessing. Okay, because we were put curses on us, all right, because we were going off, and then of course Esau was put over us as part of that curse, and you know, of course he has rule over everything currently, but he really, you know, subjected half of his people, but more than half, like 95% of his people, into an almost cursed-like state, just from hoarding wealth. All right, it's the Small Hatters, the 13, Jewish family, those big league banking families that hoard all the wealth, and all the other Edomites have to live on a lower level. All right, not quite on a lower level to us. And it's funny because it's like that saying, I can't remember who quoted it. It says, but if you can convince the poorest white man that he's better than the richest black man, there you go, man. Then I can't remember how it goes from there. Yeah, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. All right, by Lyndon B. Johnson. So, and it's all lies, man. It's all lies. All right, even the Edomites are being lied to. They don't even know that they're the Edomites, right? Some of them do, but a lot of them don't. So this whole society is this is what happens really. This is what happens at the end of the day when you have an unjust ruler. Okay, and Esau is an unjust ruler. So one of the curses that was put on us is Deuteronomy 28:41. And it says, "Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity." And, this is really, most prominent. You see it, think of the transatlantic slave trade, all right, because we would literally have kids and they would sell off those newborn, well, no such thing as newborn, but newly brought back into the world babies off as, young slaves, all right, they'd be going to captivity immediately. And in this state, we still have it because we can't enjoy our family because they instantly go into captivity, right? They go into work. Hey, you want to hang out? No, can't, unfortunately. Well, we wanted to get the family together and, have a barbecue, catch up. No, can't, unfortunately. I'm working this day, or I'm working that day, or can't do it then, can't do it here, can't do it. All right. Okay, well, maybe I'll just hang out with you, babe. Well, unfortunately, I got to go drop the kids off at daycare, and then I got to go to work. Well, all right. So, and they really want and really it's all to keep people as far as away from they can from their people, all right, and just intermingle with people that they normally wouldn't mingle with, all right. And that's why, at work, I always tell people, because people are like, oh, well, I come here to work, and I don't care to get to know anybody here, or anything like that. And that's fine and all, but I always tell people, I say, hey, you got to realize that we spend more of our time at work than we do at home 90% of the time. So if you're at work with someone that you don't like, or you're miserable at this job or something, then that's your whole life in misery. Okay, so you got to think about it. Work, you got to add up how many hours you're at home and then how many hours you're at work, right? So you're at work a good chunk of that. So if you have a problem at work, if someone you don't like or someone that starts issues with you, that's a good chunk of your life that you're living with, someone trying to fucking fuck you over. It's not a good way to live. All right, it's not a good way to live. You show up and do your job and you're just quiet, whatever, that's fine. All right, but know that the job's gonna go by slower. All right, you don't have to give everybody your life, but I'd fucking chat. You know how Jake is. We usually chat, make jokes, and cracking jokes with people, talking to customers and whatnot. Most of the time, all right, most of the time makes the job go by fast. You don't want to just sit there bitter, all right? Nobody likes that. But yeah, man, we're in this society, we're not gonna really have as much time to enjoy, our wives or our children or any of these people, because we're all in captivity, all right? Even essentially, we're in captivity under captivity of Esau. Esau is not really under captivity. They're still technically forms of servants, all right, to their higher up, Amalek leaders, all right, but they're not like us in captivity. But they're starting to feel some of the burn. They're starting to feel some of these curses. Like I said, and I wanted to explain that Esau it hasn't made curses. He's not like the Lord, but he's set up circumstances that can feel like a curse put on them. You got these white people living in trailer parks now with nothing, all right, and on food stamps and everything. And some of those are Jakes, but a lot of those are Edomites, and that feels like a circumstance would be a curse. And it's an artificially manufactured type curse. It's not something that it is what the Lord did, because the Lord controls everything, but that's just from Esau's greed. Okay. The blessing with Esau, that billions of dollars, that all the Edomites could be rich. So they can't even enjoy their own kingdom. It's hilarious, really. So let's go and get Exodus, because this is essentially what's going on right now. All right, Exodus 1 and 13. Now, we're not working exactly as hard as we were when we were in Egypt, but we are in Egypt again. All right, and we'll prove that with the next verse in Revelation 11 and 8. But for now, we're going to get Exodus 1 and 13. Let me grab a drink. Exodus 1 and 13 through 14. In 13 it says, "And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor." All right. "And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor." So you had right there, it said in hard bond, in mortar and brick, but it also said in all manner of service in the field. So we might not be with mortar and brick now. Some of our brothers are. They're out there doing that construction stuff. All right, but like it says, and all their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. Now, what does rigor mean? All right, something's rigorous. All right, rigor.
Rigor.
All right, the quality of being extremely thorough, exhaustive, or accurate. Severity and strictness, demanding, difficult, extreme conditions. So severe, strict and difficult and demanding. So, and you, no matter what job you have, you are in a rigorous situation. You are in a job where, if you're even a cashier, right? Because most people say, well, cashiers, they have it easy. They have it easier than the ones that are out in the blistering sun, getting hot and sweaty. But you got to realize they're still serving in rigor as well, because they don't get to sit down. Not in America. You don't get to sit down. You are meant to stand for your full 8-hour shift. The only time you can sit is when you go on break. All right? But you worked 8 hours, you get a 30-minute break. Not an hour, 30. Some of them don't even give you that. All right, depending on the state. Some, I think, probably give you like 15. So, or they'll give you 2 15. So you don't even get it in one full interval. So that's still rigor. All right, that's a stressful and harsh situation. You can't stand. Here it is, your ankles hurt. You gotta stand all day, because it's unprofessional if you sit. If I go and get a loan, I gotta sit. If I'm meeting with the president, I'm going to sit. If I'm going to court, I gotta sit. Okay, those are extremely professional situations. Okay, if I'm making a trade deal, all right, and I'm with a big business, I gotta go and sit. Okay, those are professional things. All right, it's unprofessional to stand. Even mafia bosses know that. Sit down, have a seat, right? Anything, something is important. Next time the boss goes to fire you, they always tell you, hey, come in the office, have a seat. No, I'll stand, sir. It's much more professional. Fucking dickhead. All right, no, that's how it goes. Anything unprofessional, you stand. Standing is unprofessional. All right, you stand at concerts. You stand around talking to people. All right, you stand while you're waiting in line. Okay, that's what you stand for. All right, you sit for all the important things. There's another thing, conditioning, that you've been lied to. They say standing is unprofessional, except or they say sitting is unprofessional. Sitting is unprofessional. It's unprofessional to sit, except all the professional careers make you sit. Behind a desk, you're sitting. CEO, you're sitting. Right, dealing with all the logistics, you're sitting. It's the peasants that are the ones that are meant to stand. We're meant to stand, right? Why? Because it wears our body down. That's why. Wears our body down. It's harsh on the heels. Not supposed to be doing it. Okay? So, that's why they do it. Oh, you're not in Egypt anymore. Yeah, we are, essentially. We're in Egypt and we're in Rome. All right? And we're in Sodom and Egypt and Sodom and Gomorrah. All right? We're in all these places spiritually. Right? Revelation 11 and 8. It says, and their dead bodies, this is talking about Jake, all right? And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, Babylon again, which spiritually, there's a lot of names, the bloody city, the great city, the north country, Babylon, right? And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. The image of Yahushua was crucified here. He wasn't literally crucified here, but they've tarnished everything, right? So yes, we are still very much in Egypt in a way. All right, we're in Egypt, we're in Rome again, right? That's where we're at. So let's get Haggai, and then we're going to close out. Let's get Haggai 1 and 6. Okay. This is Israelites. After who was it? After the heathen got a hold of them. All right, in Jerusalem, I believe. Let me see. Where was it? Okay. This verse is not dealing with the Israelites immediately after the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem, but rather with the remnant that returned to Jerusalem decades later during the Persian period. Either way, it's the So the verse reflects Yahweh's rebuke of the returned Israelites, all right, because they focused on rebuilding their own homes, pursuing personal property, while neglecting Yahweh. As a result, Yahweh allowed their labor to be unfruitful, symbolized by economic hardship, like earning wages that disappear. And it's in the same way that we had curses put upon us, because we weren't doing that's why we're in this situation in the first place. That's why Babylon is even a thing. All right, that's why America is even a thing, is because that really Babylon was. You say that Babylon, the Edomites made Babylon. Really, even Jake made that. All right, it was made out of our sin, unfortunately, and it's not nothing to brag about. But this place wouldn't have been that without our scattering. Okay, you would have never been able to build it up without us. So really, Jake made America as well. All right, just Jake makes everything. Jake made America as well, because if we hadn't gone into captivity, if we hadn't been brought over here on slave ships, and we hadn't been done what we did in the slave and all the cotton and all the money that was made from that, billions and trillions actually, I think, of dollars, then America would never have been able to build up into what it was. Also, you would have never been able to conquer or know that this land was anything about that, because Gad wouldn't have been there. All right, nor would have the Iskarites with the Aztecs. They wouldn't have been there. So none of that would have been. You would have had no people to conquer. You would have had no slaves. All right, so Babylon, all right, aka America, would have never been able to been made. All right, if it wasn't for us. Okay, through Yahweh Shai, of course, because he's the one who scattered. We didn't really do anything. We would just, we were the people that you took over. All right, So. We're under the curses now, which is the reason why we're in this state, why the world's in this state in the first place. So Haggai 1 and 6, in a similar fashion, says, "Ye have sown much, and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warmth. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes." So that's what happens in the society. You're putting, your money into a bag of holes. All right, you open your bank account and there's $40 missing. What the fuck did the $40 go missing? Turns out something was pending for like fucking 48 days. They do that shit to fuck with you. You think it really takes that long? No. There's banks that take their shit immediately. Bam. But with certain stuff, they just pend for like fucking over a goddamn month. All right, you'll be sitting here waiting for it to pend, and you'll be like, okay, well, it's probably taken out by now. And then you go and do something, boom, negatives. What the fuck? How? They decided to take their money out right at the last minute, right? Or they try to do some crazy fuck shit. Everyone's dealt with that, right? And this society is just formulated on keeping you away from your family, keeping you working, and robbing you and lying to you about it, right? And you've been conditioned, all right, to accept that. Maybe that'll be the title. You've been conditioned to accept the lie of the American dream. Something along those lines, maybe, right? So that's where we're going to close out, right? Lord, what was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing. Shalom.